If you're using Apollo like 99% of people, then you're leaving its full potential on the table. Most people don't really know how to use all the filters in Apollo, so what they end up doing is building a massive broad lead list with no strategy behind it. But when you know how to use Apollo properly, it becomes one of the most powerful tools for building targeted, high-intent lead lists. And in this video, I'm going to break down my exact process for building targeted lead lists inside Apollo to consistently book qualified sales calls for myself and for my clients. Let's get into it. All right, so I'm now going to show you guys how exactly I use Apollo to build targeted lead lists for myself and for my clients. There's honestly a million things that you can do inside Apollo, but I want to give you guys all the essentials and all the things that I'm sure you're actually going to use. And I don't just want to overwhelm you with a bunch of information that you're never going to use, because a lot of the stuff on Apollo, a lot of the filters, a lot of the different features are things that you're probably never going to use. So I'm just going to tell you everything that you need in order to be able to build a lead list that is segmented, highly targeted, intent-based, and is going to get you consistent sales calls. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is you need to make an Apollo account, and I'm sure you're all smart enough to do that. And the minute you do that and you log in to your Apollo account, this is the first thing that you're going to see. And if you see on the left column, where you want to come into is on the People's tab. So I'm just going to close this for now. And so this is what you can see right now. On the top left corner, we have the total number of leads that are in the database, which is 218.6 million. And then we also have the net new leads here. So for example, if you had exported 10 million leads, it would show that the net new is 208.6 million. And then you can also save a bunch of leads here for different purposes. But that's a bit irrelevant for now. So I'm going to take you through all the filters now on the left column that are extremely useful. And I'm also going to try and give you the most suitable order at which you should be using these filters. So the first thing you want to do is you want to come into the email status. And there's a bunch of filters here. The first thing you want to tick is the verified box and the unverified box. Now, the reason why we tick verified and unverified as opposed to just the verified box is because right now we just want to be looking at all the leads that have an email address. Whether it's verified or unverified, we don't care, because I recommend that you use another tool like Listmint or Million Verifier to actually verify the lead list once you build it in Apollo. And keep in mind that even the verified email addresses are not verified in real time. So even if you were to untick the unverified box, these are still not verified in real time. So to keep things simple, just tick verified and unverified, and then you can close this up. So now you're only looking at leads that have an email address, because all these ones here, like update required and unavailable, they don't have an email address. Now, the next thing that you can do is you can filter for location. Okay, so you can filter in two ways here: the contact location and the account headquarters. So for example, if I want to reach out to people who are based in the United States or the United Kingdom, then I now have 49.1 million people. Now, if I wanted to filter by account headquarters, meaning companies that are registered, for example, in the United States and in the United Kingdom, we now have 59.3 million. So you see that there's a slight difference between choosing that I want people who are based in the United States and the United Kingdom, as opposed to the company being registered in the United States and the United Kingdom. It doesn't really make a difference. I mean, it depends on what you're looking for. Like if you just want companies that are registered in a certain location, then just go for the account headquarters. If you just want to reach out to people who are based in a certain country, then you should just go with the contact location. Now, what I typically recommend for most people, like if your service is not location restricted, then I usually recommend going for tier 1 English speaking countries, which is the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. So just for the sake of this example and this tutorial, I'm going to go with the account headquarters. Now, something that you can do specifically is exclude certain locations as well. So let's say you wanted to exclude New York from your lead list, then you can do that. And you see now that we have 62.6 million people. If I include New York now, then we have 67.3 million. The next thing you can do is you can filter by head count. Now, there's two ways you can go about this. You can either choose here based on the predefined range. So we have 1 to 10, 11 to 20, 21 to 50, 51 to 100. Or you could scroll down and you could go for a custom range. So let's say you don't want to go 1 to 10, you want to start at 5 employees, then you could go for minimum 5, and then you could go up to 105. Okay, so this gives you a bit more flexibility when you're building your lead list. So let's just stick with 1 to 105. So we've now got verified and unverified email status. We've got the locations of the companies that we want to target, and we want to target companies that have 5 to 105 employees. Now, the next thing you can do, and this is probably one of the most important things that you need to use, one of the most common filters, I should say, that you're going to be using is the industry. Let's say I want to reach out to marketing companies. I can choose here marketing and advertising. I could go for online media. I could go for media production. And I could also go for public relations and communications. Okay, let's say I want to build a lead list targeting companies in the marketing space, PR space, and media space. Now, keep in mind, there's a bunch of different industries here. If you just click on the arrow and you scroll down, you'll see that there's a lot of industries. If you want to go after financial services companies, then you see we have financial services, we have accounting. There's literally so many different types of industries that you could go after, information technology and services. I'd recommend the best way to go about this is if you just type the most common keyword in your industry, you'll probably get that industry. So let's say you want to go after health. Okay, you have health, wellness, and fitness, hospital and healthcare. So if you just put in a keyword here, then it'll give you a variety of industries that are related or have that word specifically in the industry. You see that it gives you pharmaceuticals because it's related to health, but it doesn't have the word health in. So if you just type in a keyword, because you're not sure what the specific industries are in Apollo, then I recommend you just do it this way and you'll get a variety of industries. And then you've also got keywords. Okay, so within the marketing space, so now we obviously have 598,000 people that we can reach out to. But let's say within the marketing space, because obviously marketing is an umbrella term, and within the marketing industry, we have Google Ads agencies, we have YouTube agencies, content agencies, we have meta ads agencies, email marketing. There's so many different types of sub industries within marketing. So let's say I want to go specifically after companies that sell, let's say it could be Google Ads. Okay, I could type in Meta, or I could say email marketing, YouTube, we could say TikTok. Okay, so now essentially we have 155.5 thousand people. So you can see that we had 600,000 people or 500,000 people, and now we've got 155. Because what I did is I said that within these industries, I only want to go after the companies that are related to Google, Meta, email marketing, YouTube, and TikTok. And if you click on the arrow below and you see where it's essentially getting these keywords from, it's from the company name and social media tags. If you want, you could go after the SEO description and the social media description. However, these are slightly less accurate. So if you want to keep your data as accurate as possible, then I'd recommend you just stick to company name and social media tags. But once again, for the sake of this example, I'll also add, for example, website, web design. You could even go for app development. And now you see we've got 223,000 people that we can reach out to. Now, something that you can do here is also exclude keywords. So if I want to exclude a certain type of agency or a certain type of subsector within marketing, then I could just type in keywords here to exclude that. Now, one thing that I highly recommend you use in order to get the most accurate keywords is super simple. If you just go into ChatGPT and let's say you want to target marketing companies, you can just tell ChatGPT, I run XYZ company and I want to target these specific type of marketing companies. Can you give me 20 relevant keywords just to narrow down my search and make sure that I'm only targeting these types of companies and not these types of companies, for example? And you could also do the same with keywords to exclude. So you could tell ChatGPT, I want to make sure that even though I'm targeting the marketing industry, I don't want to target companies that are in web design, web development, and so on. So give me 20 keywords that are relevant in this case to exclude, so we don't target those companies. So I'll give you another example. I sell cold email lead generation services. So I want to make sure that I'm not targeting other cold email agencies that could sometimes fall under marketing. So in this case, I can type in cold email or just lead generation in general, and you see that we now have 105,000. That's all you need to know regarding the industry and the keywords. Now, something else that is extremely useful if you're targeting e-com brands, which is not relevant in this case, so I'm not going to include this filter because it's not relevant to our current marketing search. But if you're targeting e-com brands, then you could go into technologies here and you could say Shopify, WooCommerce, you could go for Klaviyo. So I'll actually give you guys a real example of what it would look like if you want to target brands as well. So now, because we want to target brands, we would obviously come into the industry section. I would remove all these marketing industry keywords and I would just type in retail. So if you want to go after retail, and then I would obviously change the keywords as well. So you could just press on the X and that would remove all the keywords. And now let's say I want to go after specific types of retail companies. So as you can see, first of all, we now have 68,000 companies, people that are in the retail space, but we haven't specifically said what type of retail companies we want. So I could say fashion, apparel, cosmetics. Okay, so as you can see, the more keywords you add, the more people you're going to get in your search. Okay, so you have retail, and the moment you start adding keywords, you're only going to be getting companies and people that are relevant to those keywords. So we've now got 24,000 people that we can reach out to. And if I'm being completely honest with you, you're not really going to use many more of these filters. Now that we've filtered though for the companies, okay, so we said that we want the companies to be located in these 5 locations. We want the companies to have a certain amount of employees. We mentioned what industries we want the companies to be in, and we've said we've also included certain keywords and technologies. This is already a pretty accurate lead list. So you can see here, you've got vapor apparel, we have cosmetics brands here like outdoor gear. This is already a pretty accurate lead list. But now what you need to do is you need to go after certain job titles. And there's 2 ways that you could go about this. Okay. We have now 68,000 people that we want to target, and we're going after ecom brands. You come into job titles, and there's 2 ways you can go about this. The first way you can go about this is by actually inserting all the specific job titles that you want to go after. So let's say you're selling now marketing services for ecom brands. So let's say you do their email marketing, or you run Google ads for them, or Meta ads for them. You want to go after the CEO, the founder. So you just type in the words and then you just press enter. You want to go after owner. You can go after president. You could go after partner. Some of these might not be extremely relevant. For example, partner, you might not find a partner in these brands, but if you do, then it will be relevant. So as you can see now here on the right, we have owner, founder, CEO. We have founder, president, and CEO. So far you can see this is pretty accurate now. The next thing you want to do is you want to choose, first of all, the relevant department. So in this case, the department we want to go after is the marketing department. And within that department, so once you choose your department, I recommend you go after 3 levels of job titles, and that is the VP of marketing, the head of marketing, and then we also have the director of marketing. So this is what I recommend you do for every single department. Let's say you want to go after the sales department now. You would do exactly the same thing. VP of sales, head of sales, and director of sales. And another thing I recommend you do is just type in the word growth, because usually if you're selling marketing services, then you want to help them grow the company. So typically someone who has the word growth in their job title is going to be a relevant decision maker. So once again, you have the standard job titles, which is usually the CEO, founder, owner, president, and partner. And then it just goes down to the department levels where you're going to go after 3 different levels, which is head of, VP of, and director of that specific department. Now, keep in mind, when you're going after really big companies, so they have hundreds of employees and so on, you don't want to reach out to the CEO, founder, and owner, because most likely they are not going to be the relevant decision maker. I just wanted to show you guys all the examples here. But if we go back down to the head count, so we put 5 to 105. That's a big range of employees. But if you were to build a lead list, for example, of companies that have 1 to 20 employees, then going after the CEO, founder, owner, etc., would be relevant, because at that stage, they probably still overlook all operations, whether it's marketing, finances, everything. Whereas if you go to 100, 200, 300, 400 employees, or in the thousands, then the CEO, the owner, and the founder have nothing to do with the marketing strategy or anything else pretty much, other than the super admin high level things. So in that case, you want to go down the hierarchy to find the relevant decision maker. And once again, you can always use ChatGPT for this. If you explain to ChatGPT that I'm going after companies to sell this service, and these are the types of companies, this is how many employees these companies have, who are the relevant decision makers, ChatGPT will also give you a helpful input, which you can then sort of use to decide which one of those is accurate and which isn't accurate. But just as a general rule of thumb, as the headcount of the company increases, you want to come down the hierarchy, because the decision making just comes down, down, down until, yeah. So the next way that you could filter for job titles, we can completely scrap these specific ones that we put, and you could scroll down here to the management level and the departments and job function. So let's say you want to go after owner, founder, C-suite, partner, VP, head, and director. So far, this is exactly what I told you to do previously as well, where you want to go after owner, C-suite, and then the different levels within a certain department. And now you can come down to the department and you can choose the marketing department. So in this case, what you've done, it's pretty much the same thing, but sometimes now you will get a few more job titles, because if I expand on the marketing, there's just a bunch of different keywords here that it's going to include that you might not include if you do this manually. So you could just press marketing, you could press sales, you could press operations, consulting, or whatever it is. So in this case, what we've done is we've also included now operations, meaning that we're going to have the VP of operations, head of operations, director of operations, and we've now got 3,900 people that we can reach out to. One thing that's important to mention, and something that you're going to see as you're building more lead lists, is that the more filters you add, the fewer the leads you're going to have to target. And that is essentially what segmentation is. Okay, so the more you segment your lead lists based on location, based on headcount, based on job titles, you're going to have fewer people to target. And that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. You want to segment your lead list, because then it means that every single individual within that lead list has more shared characteristics with everyone else. Now, that's important because when you're writing your scripts, it means that you can reference specific things. For example, if you're going after companies that are just based in London, that is a shared characteristic. So all of a sudden, it means you've segmented by location, which means you can call that out in your scripts. You can say, hey, I noticed you're based in London. Whereas if you put all these different countries, you can't really mention anything specific about the location. Or for example, if you're going after only the founders, the owners, and the CEOs, you can say, hey, I noticed you run company name. Whereas if you're going after the VP, director, and head, you can't really say that in your scripts. So, even if you filter by industry and you filter it down even more by keywords to just fashion brands, you could say, hey, we've helped other fashion brands or sports apparel brands like your company. Whereas if you just put retail like I did here, you don't really have anything to call out. And that's why it's important to segment your lead lists. I'd say anything more than 1,000 to 2,000 leads is probably a good size, because if you go less than that and you go to 200, 300, 400, 500 people, then it's your campaigns are going to be finishing extremely quickly, and it means you're going to have to build new lead lists all the time, which sometimes can get a bit annoying. And on the other hand, if you don't segment enough and you just build a lead list of 10, 15, 20,000 people, it means that it's most likely not segmented enough, and it means that it's too broad usually. So these are the main filters that you're going to be using. I wouldn't really recommend you use the revenue filter because it's not as accurate as the headcount. So if you want to filter companies based on size, I would usually recommend you go for headcount as the determinant for size as opposed to the revenue filter. Now, one last thing that you can do is if you click on company, if you want to go after specific companies and you're 100% sure, so if I just clear all the filters now, and let's say I just want to go after Google, I want to go after LinkedIn, and I want to go after Amazon, I can literally do that. And you can see I have 490,000 people. And now that I've got these three companies, I can then filter it down even more to choose which people within those companies I want to reach out to. Now, the other thing that you can do in this case, even if I can scrap this, if you click on the other arrow here below, it says include list of companies and exclude list of companies. So I'll start with the exclude. If you have a do not contact list, okay, so a list of companies that maybe you've reached out to before and they told you not to reach out to them again, or maybe it's your existing client base. So if you have a lot of clients that are in the marketing space and you're now building a lead list of companies in the marketing space, you don't want to go after that company again, obviously. So you can include their domain here. So for example, you would just do something like this, sparklygo.com, which is my domain for my company. I would just include that. So it means that it now would, any employee, any individual who has this domain would not be in the lead list. And in the same way, if I want to go after certain companies, if you have a list of 100, 200, 300, or even 10, 20 companies that you want to reach out to, you can just include their domains here. And if you include their domains, you'll only get employees that are of that company and have that domain. And once you do that, you can then start filtering out using all the other filters that I showed you. But pretty much, these are the only filters that you're going to be using in Apollo. Okay, so now just to show you how to actually export a lead list once you build it, let's say I want to reach out to retail companies that have 1 to 10 employees, and those retail companies are based in the United States. And I now have 212,000 people. I want to export that list. You're going to click on this top left checkbox. You're going to choose select all. If you want to do 10,000 at a time, that's the most you can do. If you want to do less than that, then you could just filter here. I want to do, for example, 5,000 people. You can also pick how many people within a given company you want to reach out to. So if you're reaching out to a company that has 10 employees, it wouldn't be smart to go after all 10. You could just keep it at 2 or 3 people within that company. If you're going after companies that have 100, 200, 300 employees, you could even go for 5 to 10. But I'll just put 5 for now. Then you just press apply. And once you press apply, you'll get this horizontal thing on the top. And all you need to do is press export. Okay, you just click on export here. Now you could obviously save the lead list. You can add it to a list as well, as you can see here. But if you want to export it, then you would just click on export and you would just press next. You can choose if you want to include the catch-all emails. I would just include them here. You press next. And once you press next, you reach this point here and you want to export it as a CSV. Now, what you want to do, which is extremely important, is you want to export all emails, not just the verified emails. Because as I mentioned previously, you're going to use another tool like Million Verifier and Listmint to verify the email addresses. You don't want Apollo to do that for you. It's just not as accurate. So you would just press export all emails. You would press save. I'm not going to export this list right now, but that's how you export it. And then once you export it as a CSV file, you just need to upload that. You need to import it into one of those verification tools. And then there you have it. You have a lead list. Okay, so you now know how to export the lead list as well once you build it. These are the filters that you're pretty much going to use. I can guarantee you right now that you don't need to use anything else in Apollo, any other filters. You don't need to make it more complicated than it is. And just using everything that I showed you in this video, you can build extremely targeted, high intent lead lists. Now that you've seen how I build targeted lead lists inside Apollo, you've pretty much got everything you need to start bringing in qualified leads today. But here's the thing, knowing how to build the lead list is only one piece of the puzzle. The truth is, if your targeting is solid, but your scripts are not relevant, then you're still gonna struggle to book consistent qualified sales calls. And that's why I put together a free resource that goes over how to write the perfect cold email scripts. So if you want access to that, just click on the video that's on the screen right now. And if you want an extra 10 to 20 qualified sales calls booked on your calendar every single month, completely done for you, then click on the first link in the description to book a free strategy session with me. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.